Everything you see today was once just an idea. Every building, every business, every fortune began in the mind of someone who dared to imagine. Some believe wealth depends on luck, or the place you were born, or who you know. But the men who truly made history, Ford, Edison, Carnegie, understood a truth that most people aren't willing to accept. Wealth is first created in the mind, and only then does it appear in your bank account. This video isn't a simple reading of a book. It's a mental activation, a complete reprogramming of how you understand money, success, and your own creative power. You're about to dive into the most powerful ideas from the most important book on wealth creation ever written, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book was born from hunger, from emptiness, from a burning desire to change reality. In 1937, after the Great Depression had wiped out so much, Napoleon Hill gave the world a work that didn't teach financial tricks, but something far more powerful: the science of thinking your way to prosperity. This masterpiece is the result of over 20 years of interviews with more than 500 real millionaires, entrepreneurs, inventors, and leaders of their time. And they all had one thing in common. First, they imagined it, then they made it happen. Are you willing to imagine the impossible? Stay until the end, because hidden in this video is a secret, one that has silently transformed lives for generations and only reveals its power to those who are truly ready to see it. Welcome to the Napoleon Hill Code. Here, we don't talk about dreams, we talk about plans. And we don't talk about motivation, we talk about an unstoppable mindset. Subscribe if you feel you're meant for something greater, because what you're about to hear might change everything. What if I told you there's a hidden secret inside this video? It's not a trick. It's not a magic phrase. It's a truth so powerful, so direct, that most people miss it because it's too simple. Napoleon Hill left clues in every chapter of his book. He never said the secret out loud, because he knew the mind doesn't receive what it isn't ready to understand. So he hid it in plain sight. Many have read this book expecting a quick formula to get rich. But that was never the purpose. The real purpose was to awaken you to something deeper. That everything you need is already inside you. Yes, the secret is in every page. But not everyone can see it. Because it's not about information, it's about transformation. And Hill was clear from the beginning. The secret can't be obtained without paying a price. And that price is learning to think for yourself. Most people aren't willing to do that. They prefer to copy, to repeat, to wait. But true creators of wealth don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them. This secret has already made thousands of people millionaires. Not because they understood the book, but because they let the book transform them. So if you're here looking for a trick, this video isn't for you. But if you're ready to look deep into your own mind, to examine your thoughts honestly, to break free from what you were taught about money, then listen closely. You don't need luck. You don't need connections. You don't need a diploma. You only need one thing: an idea. A clear idea. An idea charged with desire. An idea that grabs your soul and won't let you sleep. That is the secret. And everything you're about to hear is how to turn that idea into your new reality. Thoughts are things. That's how the first chapter of Think and Grow Rich begins. And while that phrase may seem simple, it holds one of the most overlooked truths of all time. Think about it. Everything around you, this screen, the chair you're sitting on, the money you have or don't have, it all started as a thought before it ever became reality. Your mind is the factory of everything you see. And yet most people don't take care of what they think. They feed their minds with doubt and expect abundance. They repeat thoughts of fear and still hope for freedom. That's impossible. Napoleon Hill was clear. Your dominant thoughts are what shape your destiny, not your passing desires, not your good intentions, but what fills your mind when everything else goes quiet. That's why this principle is the first and the most important. Hill explained it through a story that marked generations. The story of gold, 3 feet away. A man had invested everything into a mine, convinced he'd found his fortune. He dug, found a little gold, then nothing. So he gave up and sold the mine to a junk dealer. But that dealer, smarter, hired an engineer. They discovered the gold was just 3 feet away. 3 more feet, and he would have been rich. That story happens every single day. People give up right before success, not because they lack skill, but because they lack vision. Your mind is the first mine you must learn to dig. That's where your ideas are. That's where your gold is. And Hill summed it up in one powerful formula. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But it's not enough to just conceive it. You have to believe it so deeply that it becomes part of you. That's how this principle works. Think with purpose. Think with obsession. Think as if it's already real. Because if your thoughts are weak, your results will be too. Here on Napoleon Inspires, we're not here to stuff your head with more information. We're here to teach you how to think in a way that changes your bank account and your destiny. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Not just an idea, not a vague hope, not a nice dream, but burning desire. Intense, unstoppable, non-negotiable. Napoleon Hill wasn't talking about wanting more money because it's convenient. He was talking about a desire so deep, it keeps you up at night. A desire that becomes a sacred obsession. And this is where most people fail. They want, but they don't desire. They ask, but they don't claim it as already theirs. Hill made it clear. Every millionaire, every great leader, every inventor burned on the inside first. And to illustrate this, he told a brutally powerful story. A general once took his army by boat to enemy territory. They were outnumbered, clearly at a disadvantage. Before the first battle, he burned all the ships. Then he told his men, "There is no turning back. We win or we die." And guess what? They won. Because the human mind only activates at full power when there's no plan B. That is what Napoleon Hill called burning desire. A fire that consumes your excuses. A mental commitment that leaves no room for doubt. But desire alone isn't enough. It needs direction. That's why Hill gave us 6 specific steps to turn desire into real wealth. Decide the exact amount of money you want. Define what you're willing to give in return. Set a clear deadline. Create a concrete plan and begin immediately. Write it all down in a clear, powerful statement. Read it aloud twice a day. And while you read it, feel it as if it's already yours. Sounds simple, and it is. But that doesn't mean it's easy. It takes faith, repetition, and an emotional discipline that most people never develop. And yet, this is where the power lives. Whoever masters their desire, masters their destiny. Because as Hill repeated again and again, desire backed by faith and action becomes wealth. If you're hearing this, don't let it pass like another quote. Write it, read it, feel it. Your future bank account starts with the desire you cultivate today. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Not just an idea, not a vague hope, not a nice dream, but burning desire. Intense, unstoppable, non-negotiable. Napoleon Hill wasn't talking about wanting more money because it's convenient. He was talking about a desire so deep, it keeps you up at night. A desire that becomes a sacred obsession. And this is where most people fail. They want, but they don't desire. They ask, but they don't claim it as already theirs. Hill made it clear. Every millionaire, every great leader, every inventor burned on the inside first. And to illustrate this, he told a brutally powerful story. A general once took his army by boat to enemy territory. They were outnumbered, clearly at a disadvantage. Before the first battle, he burned all the ships. Then he told his men, "There is no turning back. We win or we die." And guess what? They won. Because the human mind only activates at full power when there's no plan B. That is what Napoleon Hill called burning desire. A fire that consumes your excuses. A mental commitment that leaves no room for doubt. But desire alone isn't enough. It needs direction. That's why Hill gave us 6 specific steps to turn desire into real wealth. Decide the exact amount of money you want. Define what you're willing to give in return. Set a clear deadline. Create a concrete plan and begin immediately. Write it all down in a clear, powerful statement. Read it aloud twice a day. And while you read it, feel it as if it's already yours. Sounds simple, and it is. But that doesn't mean it's easy. It takes faith, repetition, and an emotional discipline that most people never develop. And yet, this is where the power lives. Whoever masters their desire, masters their destiny. Because as Hill repeated again and again, desire backed by faith and action becomes wealth. If you're hearing this, don't let it pass like another quote. Write it, read it, feel it. Your future bank account starts with the desire you cultivate today. Desire becomes power when it is transformed into action. Napoleon Hill. Let's imagine this. You already have a clear idea. You visualized it. You felt it in your soul. Your desire is burning. You believe in it with unshakable faith. Now what? Now comes the part most people ignore. Planning. Napoleon Hill doesn't sugarcoat it. A desire without a plan is nothing but a fantasy. This is where your dream gets structure, where you cross the bridge from imagination to manifestation. This is the moment you choose. What will I do? How will I do it? With whom? And when? But here's a vital truth. Your first plan will probably fail. And that's okay. The problem isn't failing. The problem is refusing to try again. Edison failed thousands of times before the light bulb. Ford was mocked and underestimated. But they didn't give up. They adjusted the plan. They never changed the goal. Which brings us to the next cornerstone of wealth. Decision. Did you know that the most successful people in the world share one common trait? They make decisions quickly and change them slowly, if at all. Most people do the opposite. They hesitate. They ask everyone. They overanalyze. They wait for signs, for certainty, for permission. And by the time they move, the opportunity has vanished. The greats? They have a strong inner compass. Once they choose a path, they walk it with conviction. Henry Ford was criticized for being stubborn, but that stubbornness was actually mental firmness. Hill put it best. The world makes way for the man who knows where he is going. Taking firm decisions doesn't just move you forward. It trains your mind. It builds trust in yourself. It builds power. So why do so many people fail to achieve greatness? Because they're stuck in paralysis by analysis. They're afraid to decide, afraid to fail, afraid to lose. But here's the brutal truth. If you don't decide, you've already chosen to stay where you are. You're not here to stay stuck. You're here to move forward. So right now, do this. Write down a plan, even if it's messy, even if it's incomplete. Choose one action you will take today, not tomorrow. Commit to it like your future depends on it, because it does. Because when your plan is defined and your decision is firm, the universe responds. Opportunities align. Momentum builds. And wealth stops being a wish and starts becoming a new direction. You've made it to the end. And if you're still here, it's because something inside you already knew. You needed to hear this. Now comes the big question. What's the secret? The one Napoleon Hill hints at in every chapter, but never reveals clearly. Here's the answer, and it might surprise you. The secret is you, your mind, your desire, your ability to imagine, your faith, your perseverance, your power to hold on to an idea until it becomes your reality. That's the secret, and it's not hidden in some ancient vault. It's an eternal principle that has always been right in front of you. Whatever the human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But very few are willing to pay the price. And what is that price? To think differently, to feel differently, to act as if you already have it all, even when there's no visible proof yet. Napoleon Hill made it clear. The secret doesn't reveal itself to those who merely wish for it. It reveals itself to those who seek it with obsession. And if you've come this far, if something in you is awake, you're already on that path. But now there's something else you should know. This channel, Napoleon Inspires, exists for a reason. To take these principles to millions of people who are still asleep and need to wake up. If this message has touched something deep in you, if these words lit a fire in your spirit, then we invite you to support this movement. Join our channel memberships, not just to help this message reach farther, but to become part of a more intimate circle of awakened minds. People like you, people who don't just want to hear truth, they want to live it. Inside, we share exclusive teachings, books, practices, and tools that you won't find anywhere else. Because your path deserves more than distraction. It deserves guidance. It deserves truth. And most of all, it deserves companionship. The decision is yours. But remember this. You were never meant to live a small, silent life. You came here to create, to expand, to transform, and your new story begins now. Welcome to Napoleon Inspires. Here, we don't just talk about success. We awaken the soul behind every achievement.